All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we are here. We're back. I'm Haize. If you guys didn't know my voice by now, which you should, if you're a first time listener to the podcast, welcome. This is the Film Frequency. We are your professionally unprofessional film critics, the Film Bros, and I am joined by my brother, the prodigal one, JB himself. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, brother? What's going on, film family? Ready to get into some coffee and Kareem.
Yeah, and what's funny is you sent me the trailer to this. I hadn't heard about it, didn't know it was coming out. I was like, oh, that looks really, really good. And we immediately was like, all right, yeah, we got to review it. Because I forgot what we were thinking about doing for this episode first. But this is much better to talk about, much better to discuss. Yeah, so this movie, Ed Helms, Taraji P. Henson, and Kareem is played by Terrence Little, who had only been in a Nickelodeon show up until now. So he doesn't have really much IMDb or many credits to his name. But this is a Netflix original, very much in the theme
Whoa.
What?
You said Taraji. You said the kid. Excuse me. You better be giving Betty Gilpin some love.
We're going to get into that because...
Don't be trying my girl, yo, because she's white.
And it's funny because we reviewed The Hunt, right? And we talked about Betty Gilpin and her versatility. This is a completely different... Like, this just added to that. She is...
But
she's the one to watch. So, like, seriously, she is one to watch in the movie industry. And, you know, I already said that she is being looked at by Marvel. And if she does get cast in a Marvel movie, her career is going to shoot up because she has the perfect combination of things like this. For matter of fact, as much as Brie Larson, her comedy is forced. What I see about Betty Gilpin is that everything that I've like The Hunt in this has been natural. Her comedy doesn't seem forced. She seems to be having fun. She does the physicality. She did the action. She did the fight scenes in The Hunt. Like, somebody needs to lock her into a franchise right now, ASAP.
Yeah, she's so talented. I mean, we talked about it on The Hunt, and then she comes here and kills this role as well. I mean, I'd say she's probably the standout, and at least for me. Well, we will get into it, but
Terrence Little was the standout to me. So let's get into it because we're gonna have our non-spoiler discussion first. Where we're gonna primarily focus on the roles and the actors themselves. So we can go ahead and jump into the non-spoiler discussion for this. And before we get into it, because a lot of the conversation is going to be Betty Gilpin and the kid. Let's talk about Ed Helms and Taraji P. Henson first. Ed Helms, he has nailed a certain type of character, and he plays versions of that character in everything he does. And he's one of those actors that I haven't gotten tired of it yet. Because for me, Ed Helms' comedy for me is all reactionary. So if you place him in these different situations and let him react to it, yeah, the character itself is all quirky and the same type of character, but his reactions are wildly different in who you're putting him in scenes with. And I love Ed Helms in something like this. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I won't lie, like I haven't been the biggest fan of his. I know he was in like the Hangover series, and I mean, the Hangover 1 was okay. I mean, I wasn't really a big fan of the franchise, one of the few. I mean, I know I'm probably in the minority, but I enjoyed him in this. Like you said, he has that quirky, he's that quirky character, but I enjoyed him in this.
Oh shit, sorry. But yeah, I enjoyed him in this too. I think what I'll say about Ed Helms is that he's not someone who I can ever see being like just the sole main character in the movie, and I would enjoy it. You have to always pair him with someone or put him in groups of people, and then that's why The Hangover worked so well for him. There was something else I saw him in, and like one of the things he did that I didn't like was like the redo of Family Vacation. I didn't like him in that because it was so much of just him. Even though he was in a group of characters with the family, but it was all built around his type of comedy, and I didn't really like him in that role. This is the type of, like, you pair him with this wisecracking ass kid and Terrence Little, and you have a great combination. Taraji P. Henson, I just want to mention her because she's been around for a long time. She really doesn't have much to do in this movie, but the way that they use her is funny. Like the scene in the house when she's like, they told me never to date a white man. It was like that was worth her being cast alone.
Let me say, I absolutely enjoyed her in this movie, and I think the scene, well, I know we're doing non-spoiler, but the scene where she's in the hotel and she's kicking ass is probably the best scene in the entire movie for me. So you had her in Taraji play like that protective African American mom. Or, she is that role, and it was so funny. And she's another person. She doesn't get as much credit as she should. She's very versatile. She's been in many movies with different roles. So yeah, she did really good on this one.
Yeah, yeah. And she's one of the few people who can do action, who can do comedy, who can mix it all together. I honestly wish we would have got more scenes with her and Betty Gilpin together, just because I
Yeah.
feel like them they would have been able to play off each other nicely. But I understand in the story why we didn't. But all right, let's talk about Terrence Little, the kid, the unknown commodity in this, and
Yes.
the one who really, for being a kid, he carries a lot of these scenes, even with Ed Helms. Like the scene in the car where he's like, "You got to basically, he said, you got to be like super gay, like you got to say gay shit." Was, and that may sound offensive. You guys have seen this. You got to see the movie. Like his delivery and his comedic timing is well beyond his age, because I think he's like 12 in real life, and that's the thing that makes like, yeah, just saying a bunch of crude like cursing and all that can be funny like as just a one hit, but you have to have the correct timing. And with his facial reactions and the pace and timing in which he said certain lines, it just nailed it home. He really picked up on that Good Boys vibe. We reviewed that last year, and
Right.
I could see him being in like the sequel to that movie or something.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, any kid, they can have any kid just curse.
Yeah,
That's not what makes it funny. What makes it funny is his delivery. And
yeah,
like you said, his facial reactions. And he had that down on point. And I mean, he threw out a lot of one-liners that were just so, the delivery was so on point. Obviously, he didn't write these one-liners, but the delivery was so on point. Like, I mean, I'll say right now, man, I was telling you before we start recording, I've read a lot of critics' reviews and seen, from the critics, and a lot of people are hating on this movie, and I really don't know why. I don't know if it's because the manner of having a child curse and going to strip clubs and these adult themes, if that's what's pissing people off. But I gotta say, in this time that the country's in right now, being with COVID-19 quarantine, we need to freaking sit back and chill for a second and have a laugh.
yeah.
Not every freaking thing has to be analyzed to death. We're movie reviewers, right?
Mhm.
And we analyze movies. Go back and listen to anything we've done. We analyze, we chop it up, we break it down. But sometimes there are movies such as this one where you don't have to necessarily do it. You just sit back and enjoy and take it for what it is. This is not some Oscar-worthy shit or
Yeah.
some drama that's going to make you, tear up or get emotional attachment. It's meant to sit down and enjoy and have a laugh.
And yeah, and I think that that's everything isn't, as much as I like, some stuff is just meant to just sit down and enjoy. Like turn off your brain in a way and just enjoy what's being presented in front of you. And this is like what Netflix is great at. Like and don't get me wrong, Netflix drops award-winning movies, and
Yep.
it should, and it's a good place for people to, for the studio system who they don't get the biggest budget or trust there, they go to Netflix, and that makes sense. But Netflix is great for something like this where it's like, I'm just going to show up, I'm going to sit down with my family, I'm going to watch this movie, we're going to eat some popcorn, and we're just going to have fun and laugh our asses off. Like that's what this movie's perfect for, and that's what it did.
And also, if you are trying to find a message through this, I'll give you some messages. How about a single mom? How
Mm.
about interracial relationships? How about dirty cops? I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can get out of it if you really want to. But I say forget all that. Just sit down and relax and watch the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get into the spoilers, let's talk a little bit more about Betty Gilpin. Bro, it's only like, I would honestly say 2021, if she's not cast in, like, she's basically the leading role in something, it's been a fail for, like, she needs to fire her management, her agent, and everything, because she's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing, and like I said, she can do it all. She can do the action. She can do the comedy. She can do the drama. I mean, and she's another one. Her delivery is great. Every time she says something, it's always funny because of her delivery. And if you remember, when we rebooted this show, this podcast, one of the first episodes we did, it might have been the first episode we did on the reboot, was Terminator, and we were talking about. I was very critical.
She would have been great in
I
that
was
role.
super critical of Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah.
And you asked, well, who could I have been? I couldn't have thought of somebody at the time. But let me tell you, this chick, Betty Gilpin, oh my God, she would have murdered that role.
Yeah. 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 The only thing that she has coming up right now that's on her Wikipedia page is she's in a movie called The Tomorrow War, which doesn't look like she's the main character in that either. And that one's actually going to be directed by Chris McKay, who's actually a pretty good director. And Chris Pratt is the star of that. So she's, I think she, like, 2020 is, especially with everything that's going on, I think like a lot of these side roles she's going to be in is really going to help her get noticed, especially she's going to be in a movie with Chris Pratt being the main character. But like I say, if by the end of this year we don't get a casting of her in a Marvel movie or action movie, or hell, I love the new chick in Tomb Raider. She would have been great for that too. Like,
yeah, I can guarantee she's gonna get roles. She's just, she's just trying to build her resume at this point.
yeah,
As long as she keeps delivering in all of her films that she does, she's gonna eventually get that breakout role that she's gonna just blow up, and then that's it. We'll see her all the time, all over the place.
exactly. And she has the size and the physicality. You know, she's 5'7" for a woman, which is.
And think about it right now, minus Scarlett Johansson, who else fits that criteria, like action and just right now in terms of actresses? There's a void there, I think.
Yeah,
that she can fill.
Yeah, I mean, and I know they were talking about like doing something new with like the Alien franchise. Like, there's a lot of different things I can see her in. Yeah, there's really not a huge act. You know, I would say Halle Berry still, especially in the last John Wick, has shown that she can do it. But as far as if we're talking about new up and comers, it's
Right.
Gal Gadot. We can't forget her. She's Wonder Woman.
Absolutely.
Brie Larson, Captain America. And then Scarlett Johansson. And I'll also say, damn, what is the? She just played Harriet Tubman. Cynthia Evero.
Right.
Her as well. Like, they're kind of the new class of actors to look out for. But you know, as far as like being like a potential action star, Betty Gilpin definitely stands out amongst that group.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Gal Gadot though, I forgot about her.
Yeah,
she's
you
definitely
can't forget about Gal
Gadot. Cannot forget about her.
She's legit. She was a member of what the she was actually in like the military, so like she's a legit badass. Yeah, you can't forget Gal Gadot. But that's it. Do you got anything left for the non-spoiler section?
No.
All right, let's go ahead and jump right into spoilers, bro. So I guess we'll start it off with the spoilers by talking about the basic theme of this movie, or the plot. So it starts off this movie with Ed Helms and going into his girlfriend's house, and the son Kareem sees them having sex, but you know, was he in here? Was he not? So he basically wants to take a hit out on Ed Helms' character.
My dude said, you fuck my mom, I'm gonna fuck your life.
And so, and it takes about the first 20 minutes of this movie. And so, before this, we get Ed Helms. He apprehended, I forgot the Orlando Johnson. I forgot the actor's name. That's the character.
For anyone who's trying to figure out who that is it's one of the boyfriends from Sister. That's where I remember.
It's funny because like he still looks. He's older than us, bro, and he still looks like he's in his 20s. He's 43 years old, man.
Word? I thought he was in his 30s. Wow.
He is 43 years old, man.
He looks good. He looks good still.
Yeah. Black don't crack. But so, and he catches on his phone them killing a cop, which kind of sets into motion them being on the run, and there's an Amber Alert put out, and then they said Ed Helms' character kidnapped Kareem, and it was so funny. Like in that scene, he was so wait, he tried to rape you? Like that whole exchange between him and the Kareem and the gangsters was hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, yo, if you don't help me, I'm gonna tell him that you tried to rape me. You tried to get into my asshole.
But yeah, man, this movie, the premise is wild as hell from the get-go. And you very early on, like before James Cofee is demoted to traffic, you get a scene with him, David Alan Grier, and Betty Gilpin's character, and immediately when you watch it, you text me like, I have a feeling that they're all in on it. And I got that from Betty Gilpin, but I didn't from David Alan Grier the first time I watched it, but I guess it makes sense. But yeah, her whole acting from this, and they're not trying to pull, like, I don't think they're trying to get you to
like mystery.
Like they're trying to hide the fact. Yeah, they're not trying to like make it a mystery. So you do get that from her very early on, like with her cockiness and how she is, that she's probably crooked. It just the whole, like I said, the premise of this movie is fucking hilarious, bro. And then when they go to the hotel and they're checking in, and the guy's like, I'm not judging. He's like, no, I'm not here for sex. Like,
right.
It's hilarious.
He's like, I hope you crack your case. And then they go in there and oh my god, it's just I mean, it's funny, man. And also, shit, I haven't seen David Alan Grier in forever. Like, I saw him with his white beard. I'm like, holy crap, this dude has been missing forever.
I don't remember the last thing other than he retweeted my tweet. I had a viral
He
tweet. I
did.
don't know if you saw. Yeah, the one with the guy with the gold hair, the platinum hair or whatever. I don't know if you saw that tweet, but
I don't
yeah,
know if I saw that.
it got like 2 million views, and David Allen Greer, Chance the Rapper, all retweeted it. So yeah.
How about jeez, the strip club scene? Would you take your son to a strip club
Never, never,
at the age of 12 or
never.
11? How old are we in this?
Mm-mm. No, not
And
gonna.
he's like, "Oh, I want you to." He doesn't know how to talk to girls, so Officer Coffee is trying to like tell him, like, give him advice, and then he calls the stripper, and he's like, "Oh, so where are you from?" Blah blah. Blah. And the stripper's like, "Oh, I'm from Detroit," and then he's like, "Oh, how much to see your pussy?"
Hey, at least he started. At least he gave a little small talk before he jumped right into
Exactly.
it. That's so funny, man. And it's the kid in this movie, and I don't want to like gush over him or anything, but like most of the greatness in this movie all comes from his one-liners. Like when they're going through the scene of like the drug house, and he's like, "I want the gun," and like it was funny as hell, man.
Yeah, man. They did a good job with him. It's crazy that this dude went from like freaking Nickelodeon to this. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna see a lot more of him. I'm hoping we see a lot more of him because, they have the tendency sometimes to have these child actors come out and do these like big roles, and then they sort of disappear.
Yeah.
I really hope that this doesn't happen to him because he does have there is something there. He does have some talent. Um, yeah, and I'd like to see him in more roles. I do think he'll probably be like kind of pigeonholed in the comedy thing for a while because he's so good at it at such a young age. But yeah, I don't know. I got to check to see if what he has in the pipeline, if he has anything else coming out.
The only thing I see right now is that he was in the show Danger Force
Yes,
on
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon, or Henry Danger, and they're spinning that off into another show called Danger Force, which he's also going to be in. And it looks like he was in 2018. He was in a show called Speechless, but it doesn't really look like he has much else coming up either. But that's all going to end soon.
Yeah, I think that's gonna change. And the good thing is, this is. I'm really glad that this film came out on this type of platform because I feel like if this movie came out in the movie theaters, it might not necessarily get as much play as if it coming out on Netflix. Only because like Ed Helms is not like one of those guys who are like, oh shit, let's run to the movie theater and watch Ed Helms.
Exactly.
So, which is basically you made that point earlier. But it being on Netflix, we're quarantined. People are gonna be like, why the hell not? So it does good for the kid. It does good for Betty Gilpin, both of their careers. I think a lot more eyes will be on it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What do you think about like as we talked about the boyfriend from Sister Sister switching sides in the third act of this movie? It didn't seem natural to me.
No, I think it did seem natural because throughout the whole movie, he was basically saying like, "Man, this is not me. Like, this is not my life. I'm not a bad guy. I never shot." He said even in the first like beginning part of the movie, he's like, "I never shot anybody before." That was just him trying to be a persona based on his rap career.
Yeah.
So eventually, I kind of had a feeling eventually it would happen and he would flip, which he ended up flipping. So I could see it natural. His two his two sidekicks though. Those dudes were funny as shit.
Yeah.
I don't even I forgot what their names were in the movie, but let's talk. Being that we're talking about those two, can we talk about the freaking hotel scene with Taraji just kicking their ass?
They gave Taraji two like action type scenes in this movie. They gave her this one, then they gave her the end scene, which we'll talk about. Which I kind of didn't like that they gave that to her. I almost would rather Kareem do it, but the hotel scene. Why is this woman not in more action movies, bro? I know she had that one and it did terrible in the box office, and it's like they haven't tried to make her like a leading lady in an action movie since then. But yeah, like I don't get it because she has the chops.
I don't think honestly, I don't think she's an action star. But this wasn't really action. I mean, it was action, but it was like action comedy because she's like talking shit as she's kicking their ass. So I think in that type of realm, she can do fine in like as she's kicking their ass, she's talking shit. Like in a comedy type role, I think she could do fine. But if it's just straight soul acting, not soul acting, but soul action, kind of like Gilpin in The Hunt, I don't think she can pull that off. I just don't think she can.
Oh, have you seen Proud Mary? The movie that was all built around her? What did you think about her in Proud Mary?
Proud Mary was the movie where just remind me of the synopsis again.
It was the movie where it was
with
I
her
can't remember
husband?
when it was set in. She was an assassin. She was trained as an assassin, and the kid comes into her house or whatever. Have you not
Yeah,
seen it?
yeah. Because my wife is a huge Taraji fan, so I feel like
Uh,
I've seen every single Taraji movie there is.
yeah.
It's just that I get some of them crosswire, but I believe it came out like a year or two ago, right?
Yeah, it came out in 2018,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and the budget on it was reported like $20 million, and it made 21 million the whole box office, and they just haven't tried. But I think the story was the problem there. Her and action scenes as an assassin, it wasn't an issue at all. Like she nailed those scenes to me, so I don't understand why like people have completely moved ever since. And then like she's done like Hidden Figures, a Criminy, Acrimony. I always say Criminy. She was in Ralph Breaks the Internet, Want Men Want, but like she hasn't really done action stuff since then.
How long has Empire been around?
6 years, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, because you would think from Empire her stock would climb, and I mean she's still getting roles,
Yeah.
but she's not getting like many outside of Proud Mary. What else was like a leading lady role?
I mean, she was one of the leads in Hidden Figures. I mean, she wasn't the lead, but she was a lead in Hidden Figures. I wouldn't
Well,
say that
yeah,
she
like
was.
here she was a lead, but she wasn't the lead.
Yeah, yeah. Acrimony, Acrimony. God damn it, she was a lead in Want Men Want. She was the lead in that one, but that was a comedy with Tracy Morgan. But yeah, that's really it.
Okay. Would you prefer her? And I'm not talking about action. I'm just talking about overall. Would you prefer her or Tiffany Haddish?
Oh, her. I don't. I'm not a Tiffany Haddish fan, bro.
I love Tiffany Haddish, bro.
I'm
She's
I'm a fan of
funny as
I'm a
shit.
fan of Tiffany Haddish. Like when she was in Girls Trip, where she isn't the focus, but she's the comedic relief. I love her
Okay.
in those roles. But since then, Hollywood has tried to thrust her into leading lady roles, and she just doesn't have the acting chops. You can crack jokes and be funny all day, but at the end of the day, this is about acting, and she just like she she doesn't have the acting chops to be a leading person, in my opinion. So anything that I've seen her in where they've tried to now put her in the lead, it's just been cringeworthy to me.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about her, but yeah, you're right. I think as a side character, as a side person, secondary person, she does well as the leading person now.
Yeah, yeah. Put her at a second or third, great. I'll sign off on that all day. Leading lady, no, I'm good on that player.
So let me ask you this: what do you have to say to the critics who said that Coffee Cream is full of um, there's not not a lot of spontaneity. There's a bunch of cliche stuff. The storyline of dirty cops has been done
Mhm.
over and over and over. What do you have to say
Mhm.
to that?
I would say that they don't know what fucking film they're watching because yes, it is a cliche. Yes, it is. It is forced. It's supposed to like if you look at the tone of this movie, it's supposed to be all those things. Like they knew what they were doing when they were writing this. They didn't do it to think that they were like breaking the mold. It's a comedy. You put people in these situations and it's supposed to be fun. It's just like it's a parody in a way, but it's not a flat out parody. But like it's supposed to be
It's
all those things
satire.
you just named. Yeah, exactly. Satire is the perfect word for it.
So my thing is like, yeah, it is cliche, but they meant for it to be cliche.
Exactly.
It was
Yeah.
supposed to be cliche. That's what they were going for. So how can you, if you're saying they did exactly what they were going for, how can you say they failed at what they were trying to do?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. And think, honestly, a lot of the reviews I've been reading of Netflix stuff and since this whole social distancing thing has been going on has been incredibly harsh because I think like the critics are just looking for that thing to like, this is why I'm a critic instead of
Right.
just like, and that's why honestly, like I look at reviews. There are very few like mainstream reviewers that I look at. John Campy is one that I'm always going to look at. Me and you both like Chris Stuckman. The YouTubers are more so what I look at because I think it's more genuine. The people who like write these reviews for like magazines or for
Stuffy
huge
as hell,
websites,
bro.
I really very few and far between do. I have my reviewers that I trust. Um, IGN is probably the most mainstream one that I look for stuff just because I feel like, yeah, they're a mainstream website and platform, but the people that they have assigned to it are movie nerds and not so these high brow critiquers or whatnot. So I really try to steer away from stuff like that.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes they go in with the intention like, oh, if I don't shit on this, it's not I'm not doing the right thing.
Exactly.
So I know they try to be analytical, but sometimes they get a little bit too over analytical.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta sit back in. Some movies are really like it's just like fucking, like we talked about, the 80s, late 80s, early 90s action movies, those weren't meant for like they're going back and watch them now, they're all cringe worthy as shit. But guess what? That was the tone that they were going for. And sometimes you just have to live within the tone that the movie's trying to set. And this one was nothing was serious about this movie, and it wasn't meant to be that. Like, I don't get it.
So at the end of the day, what do you think the shelf life of this movie is going to be? Do you think it's one that's going to go on for a long time, or it'll die out, in a month or two? Or
Considering where we are, I don't think it's going to die out anytime soon. I think, like, I off the top of my head, I don't know any other comedies that have released this time. So I think it's going to have a long shelf life because people are looking for escapes, man. People are tired of seeing coronavirus shit on the news all the time. And they're looking for an escape. And I think it's going to live in there. When I checked last night, and the movie just released yesterday, released Friday night.
Friday,
when I checked it, it was number 5 trending on social media.
That's huge.
That's huge for something that, if this wasn't going on, I think, like, if we weren't in the current times that we're in, I could see it have been maybe a thing that some people watched initially and then it kind of died out. And then maybe some people found it later down the road when they were bored, or maybe next January when there are no movie releases and people are just looking for shit to watch on Netflix. I could see it like getting a resurgence then. But I really think that it's the perfect movie for the time, considering the situation that we're in. And it's going to get, I mean, when you look at platform, hell, we talked about our platform review, the most successful thing we've done on YouTube. And it was a movie that nobody would have paid attention to if this pandemic wouldn't have been going on. So I think it has the potential for a long shelf life.
Yeah, I believe so, because people are actively going out and watching this platform. I don't really think anybody went out actively and watched. I think a few people watched it because it came out on Netflix, and it just blew up because it's a really good movie. But people actively are going out and trying to watch this, so I think it's gonna last for a long time. But let me ask you this: I mean, so far for 2020, we've had a couple comedies, nothing over the top amazing. Would you say, is it fair to say that this is the best comedy of 2020, or at least top 3? I think I'm comfortable in saying it's top 3.
What other comedies have come out this year?
So
The Hunt we're considering a comedy, right? Me and you have both kind of said, like, what are we labeling The Hunt as?
Comedy action.
So if we're
thriller?
doing that, then The Hunt for me is number 1. But this is close behind.
Yeah, so I think, like, I would definitely put it in the top 3. Only because, like, I agree with you 100%. Only because I think The Hunt was slightly better in my opinion. Not too much better, but it's because I enjoyed the action more in The Hunt, if we're looking at an overall movie. So yeah, I would say The Hunt and then this. And it's funny I say that because I have a Letterbox for those who have not heard of Letterbox. It's a site you go on and you can leave reviews and ratings and stuff. And I literally have Hunt, I believe, as like number 9 or number 8, and the very next movie after that is this movie.
What are we labeling Bad Boys as? Just action, or is that action comedy too?
Well, if we're labeling that as comedy, then I would have to label that above them. But I kind of look at that more as like action.
Okay, and then we got Sonic, which I enjoyed it, but it was nowhere near the quality of this or The Hunt for me. And then another movie that I don't know if you've watched or not. That did come out, Hooking Up, with Brittany Snow, and I forgot the black guy's name in it. Like, I randomly just played it on the Fire Stick one day. Hadn't heard about it. Hadn't heard any buzz about
2020?
it. 2020. Funny as
check
hell,
that out,
bro.
Hooking Up.
Do you like things?
I like Brittany Snow.
Do you like things in the vein of like 40-Year-Old Virgin and what's the movie with Seth Rogen in it, and no, it's not. That's quite. Yeah, Knocked Up. If you like movies like that, those two, you would love Hooking Up. When I tell you that it was, and Brittany Snow in that movie, I think it's not gonna. A lot of people aren't gonna see it, but she showed some acting chops that I haven't previously seen from her on a level, because it really did some things for me in that for her as an actress. And the actor's name, who is the other co-star in it, is Sam Richardson. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else. He's funny as hell. He's funny as hell. Like, you got to watch the movie. Maybe we'll do a mini-sode on it if you get a chance to watch it, because I know your taste, and you'll either really like it or you'll hate it, and either way, I'll make for a great review.
Exactly. So one more time for the people. What's it called?
Hooking Up is the name of it.
Hooking Up. So check that one out. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
And so the basic synopsis of the movie is Sam Richardson's character is a guy who had testicular cancer before, and it came back, and they had to take one of his balls, so they have to take the other one. And because he's worried about how it affects his sex drive, he goes on a trip with this writer, and they're supposed to have sex in places that she hooked up with other people in, and so it's like this road trip coming of age story thing, and it's funny as hell.
Another comedy we forgot as well,
Uh-huh.
a Big Time Adolescence. I don't know if you saw it. It's a more small one. It was with Pete Davidson. Oh my God, bro! You need
I
to
haven't
watch
seen
that, and for those listening out there, you need to watch it as well. It's with Pete Davidson, and it's also like a sort of a coming of age movie, but you definitely go out and watch it. It's
it.
hilarious as shit.
May have to watch it. But yeah, definitely check out Cooking Up. But let's get back on track with
Yes.
I kind of through that. So anything left that you want to talk about? Any scenes or anything with Coffee and Kareem?
Nah, man. Again, like it's just a really fun movie. The ending obviously is predictable. Everybody
Yeah.
loves everybody at the end. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed the movie. It is what it is. What they wanted to accomplish, they did. Nothing more, nothing less. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It's just a fun movie, man. In hard times, it's a fun movie to sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely check it out, man. Ratings. Let's give our ratings on it. What is your rating for this one?
Yeah, so I kind of went back and forth on this one. I don't think, as much as I enjoyed the movie, I can't give it like a 4 or 4.5 star or
Mhm.
anything like that because you have to have solid acting, which this Betty Gilpin, yes, a little bit of Taraji, yes. So I just give it a stroke under that, 3.5 out of 5 stars for me.
That's exactly what I'm giving it to. Like I really parts of me wanted to push it up to a 4. If it was a bit funnier or maybe had like a
More
really
drama.
funny, hilarious action scene where it's like a great action scene, but it's also comedic. I would have probably pushed it up to a 4 if I had some more of that. But ultimately, like, and the ending, we didn't talk about the ending. What do you think? Well, let me get my rating because I'm jumping, but yeah, 3.5 definitely for me. But the ending, like with Betty Gilpin coming out of this explosion, Ed Helms is all jacked up. It has burns all on the side of his
Yeah.
face, and Betty Gilpin's character comes out. Taraji takes his gun and shoots her. What do you think about giving that scene to Taraji instead of like a Kareem or somebody else doing it?
Bro, you fucking crazy? They can't do that. They're already getting so much shit with him cursing. Him shooting a gun. Oh my, that would have broke the internet.
You're right, see, but it needed that. Like having a black kid shoot a white woman to end the
That's a
movie.
cop. That's a cop. Although she's
That's
dirty. Here's the one thing that they messed up on this.
okay.
I would have liked to see a straight fight scene between Taraji and Betty Gilpin.
Yeah, and that, just give me that. Like for example, have Betty Gilpin like have Kareem like in a chokehold or something, and Taraji just like, oh, you're not finna
Oh
touch
no.
my baby, and just
Yes.
goes off, and we get like a Matrix like commit. Like that's what I'm saying. That would have took that movie to a 4 to me.
Yeah,
Just
remember
with
the
that scene being added.
the fight scene between Hilary Swank and Betty Gilpin at the end of the
Yeah,
hunt. It was a good action scene, but also they were like it was funny too because they were like making all these comments. I think Taraji and her would have done even a better job.
absolutely. Like matter of fact, I can, and this will probably never happen, but you can give me a buddy cop movie with Taraji P Henson and Betty Gilpin. I would show up for it. I think it would be great, bro. Something in the vein of like a Bad Boys or Lethal Weapon, but for women. Like
Oh
because
yeah.
they both have the physicality, they both can do action, they both have great comedic timing, and they both like have these wildly ranging characters. Like I really, if you can't tell, bro, I really want to see Betty Gilpin get her role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll get that absolutely. I've said this a million times. When you're good, you're gonna eventually get noticed. I don't want to sidetrack, but I was watching this thing the other day, and it was with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. It was an old ass interview. I think they were on
Mhm.
Oprah actually, and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were really nobody, and they wrote the script to Good Will Hunting, and it sold, and then their career blew up. But Matt Damon was saying like he would have sold that script for a piece of chicken
Mm.
because he was like, oh, it was okay, but he knew that eventually that he had the chops that he's gonna make it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. When you're good, you're gonna make it. There's nobody ever that's good and will never make it. It's impossible. Eventually, you're gonna
Unless they
get that
self
breakout role.
implode on themselves. Unless they self implode,
Right.
which
And
some do.
I don't think Betty Gilpin is. She doesn't have that like. We don't see her in anything scandalous. We don't. She
Yeah.
doesn't. Her personality. I've seen interviews with her. She doesn't have that like personality where like she's a bitch or anything like that. So I think she should be around for a long time. Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so too. So yeah, that's it, bro. I got nothing left, man. Definitely check out this movie. Definitely check out the Film Frequency Pod. But JB, go ahead and get in your social media.
I can be reached on Twitter at the P1JB. That's at THEP1JB. Of course, I can be reached on Facebook, Javid Bashrula. Check us out.
And you can follow me at CEO Haize. That's at CEOHAIZE. But more importantly, you can follow us collectively at the Film Bros Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, the film frequency at gmail.com. And lastly, you can check our discussion group at the Film Frequency. And that's it. This has been another episode of the best movie podcast around, soon to be number one, as we keep pushing forward. And we're out this bitch. Peace.
Fuck you talking about number one on my list.
That was fun, bro. Good,
Yeah,
simple review, man. I like that we can